Hi everybody, welcome to another video about making my Christmas journal this year. So in the previous video I sort of showed you the basic format that I'm going to be doing, and in this video I'm going to show you how I assembled and set up my ephemera stash ready to go. I was going to say ready to go for December, but actually I finished it on the 1st of December, so that's not bad timing, I suppose, only slightly late. So what I'm doing here, you can see on the video that I'm looking through my Christmas planner. This is my Christmas planner, and I made myself a list of things to gather or create during November. So one of the first things I wrote down was to gather community Christmas journal prompts. So what I mean by that is within the journaling community, there's a few people that make Christmas prompts, December prompts, journaling prompts, and it's quite nice if you are a bit stuck what to do in your journal to print off a few of those and have them sort of handy and ready for if you want to use them as you go through December. So that's the first thing on my list. The next thing is Christmas bucket lists, and I've written for experience and content for my journal. So what I mean by this is if you go on Pinterest, if you type in Christmas bucket lists, you can find lots of suggestions of things to do throughout December. So that you actually have something to write about in your journal. Obviously, there's, the basic stuff that I usually journal about, like opening advent calendars and putting the tree up and bloody blah. But sometimes it's sort of good to have a little jog of your memory of ideas for activities and things to do throughout December, so that you actually do them. And then obviously you can journal about them and put them in your journal. So that's the second thing, Christmas bucket lists. The third one, I've written colour palette because I do like to choose a colour palette every year, although it is now getting to the point where it's just the same every year. I've realised I tend to go for the warm tones rather than the cool tones, and that's basically how my colour palette is, and it doesn't really change that much, but it is fun to make a colour palette, so I have done that. Next thing is gather paints, pens and art supplies. I mean, to be honest, I didn't really gather them. I just have them here. But if there are any that you have your eye on that you'd quite like to use for this year, go out and grab them. And then I've sort of written down a list of actual pieces of ephemera that I want to design. So I've got background papers, date stickers, pockets and cards, stickers and small elements, and then fabric, ribbons and braids. Then the next thing I do is have a little flick through my scrapbook, just to kind of get a reminder of the kind of things I'm interested in doing. So it might be just, to get an idea of colours to use or kind of items in particular that I want to make. And I grabbed my MD notebook here, and like Midori notebook, sorry, and I'm sort of making a visual list because it's all very well writing out a list of things to do, like to check off in my planner. I kind of like to have a sort of a visual layout of things I want to make. So you can see that I've already drawn, I want to make pockets. And obviously to make pockets, I'm going to need some like ephemera sheets. I've also made a note that I really want to do some sewn edges and ribbons and lace this year. So I've made a note to gather together red and green thread primarily. I've never really got metallic thread through the machine I have, and I'm a bit nervous to do that because it really does it catches quite a lot. So I probably stick to red and green, but I'm going to have to go and scrounge a load of sewing thread off my mum. So it depends what she has in her stash, basically. So I've written that I need to gather red and green thread, ribbons, lace, and collage papers. So I think I mentioned in my last video that I have all these pictures stuck in my scrapbook because they have elements that I want to include in my own journal. So here you can see that in action because I'm sitting and looking through all the pictures and I'm just making notes about which things specifically I want to get more of into my own journal. So the next thing I'm writing down is a little bit about having more space on the page and having quite plain backgrounds. So I've sort of drawn a little sample layout of quite a basic sheet with just a little bit of journaling in the middle and a couple of stickers, for example. And I'm writing now that I want to have a plainish background. So it really helps me to go through all the visual inspiration that I've gathered and then make my own notes about the specific things I want to do, it sort of increases the focus on it basically, because otherwise I can get quite easily stuck into a rut and just end up doing the same old, same old. And if I want to try new things and try different things, and if I know I'm seeing these things online and thinking, oh, that's lovely, you know, and you see something you love and you just get the sort of like goosebumpy feeling and you want to try it, it's very easy to sort of forget all those things. So by doing this, going through my scrapbook and making notes about the things I want to try, I'm hoping to sort of bring more focus to them so that I actually do them in my journal. So I've written a few more things down. I've written down to have my paints at the ready because I want to use my paints a bit more. And I've written good quality paper snippets to write on because I do get a bit frustrated if I'm trying to do journaling. I've had it before in the past where I have, I'm going to do some journaling in a junk journal and the paper I'm actually writing on is hideous. Like it just bleeds, all the pens bleed. It just is an unpleasant experience, let's just say. So I made a note to try and get some good quality paper to write on. Also to just gather stickers and washi because I do want to do some decorating, obviously. I'm not going to have it crazy minimal, and it's nice to have a few little stickers and bits to put down. In terms of putting photos in, I've just drawn a little doodle there of me sticking a photo in with some photo corners, and I've made a note to say perhaps design some photo corners or photo frames. And at this point, I have a very small idea about how I'm going to do that, but it's not solidified yet. And I'm also writing down measure standard photo dimensions because sometimes I don't have the photos printed ready to go in. And I was thinking it might be quite handy if I have a little template for like the standard photo dimensions that I print so that I can sort of leave space for photos if they aren't actually printed yet. And I've written in capital letters here, art supplies, because it's very easy to just print things and stick things down. And I've been doing a lot of digital work recently, which has been really fun, but I also want to sort of get in there and actually do drawing. As you can see in my scrapbook, one of the things I wanted to do more of this year is actually drawing. So obviously I'm going to need my actual physical real world art supplies to do that. So I'm heading back now to my planner to just have a look at the list I'd written about things to do in order to get myself ready for my journal. And I had written out like a sort of a step list of things to do, 1 to 10, and I'm just going through it now just to tick off which things I've already done. And so I've already ticked off collecting inspiration and research because I've done that. That's in my scrapbook. I've ticked off make a scrapbook because that's obviously done. I've ticked off decide on a journal format because I've done that. That's in the previous video. And I've ticked off gather material for cover and pages. So that's the same thing. Don't know why I read that twice. It's kind of the same thing. I suppose deciding on the journal format and then actually gathering the things to make it from are different, aren't they? And I've ticked off a colour palette because at this point I had sort of made one. I mean, it's basically ginormous and all the colours I usually use, but I did actually make one at this point. So I'm just ticking off the bits I've done and then looking through to find the bits that I do still need to do, which is basically date stickers, paper ephemera, art supplies, and then somewhere to put it all. So like a tray organiser to put it all in. And again, I'm sort of, I suppose it looks like I'm repeating myself, but it's more that by writing it out and drawing out what I want to do, it sort of solidifies my plan in my head a little bit more. Here I am drawing an organiser to put things in, because that was actually one of the biggest challenges this year, I have to say, and you'll see more of that later on in the video. I like to have a place where I can put all my Christmas supplies so that when I come to do my journaling, it's all ready, it's all sort of organised, and that actual setup in itself is quite fun to do. But obviously on a crazy strict budget this year, I can't really afford to buy any more things, and I spent hours trying to find the perfect solution. I know in previous years I've had different folders and things. When I was in Japan, I had different like folders that I could like pop all the bits of ephemera in. I actually had a mini, not a Raskog trolley. What are they called? The smaller version of the IKEA trolleys. Had one of those one year. That was really fun. But yeah, I will explain how I solved that problem later on in the video. And yeah, just a quick list of things I need to print. And then things that I need to gather. So as I said, this is just sort of my enjoyable way of doing a sort of little visual to-do list, just to sort of gather my thoughts about what I need to do next. I think I filmed this probably mid-November, but we were very busy with lots of things to do with my son's school, so that I didn't actually have much time to do it, and I ended up doing it all very, very last minute. But you'll see that I did actually get it done. So I'm just showing you now some bits of ephemera that I've printed out. I've got various sheets. So this is all stuff that I've drawn on my iPad. So I made up these sort of fake patchwork, digital patchwork sheets. I didn't actually mean to go down the patchwork route. I have done this sort of style of design before, but not for Christmas, I don't think. I can't remember now. But I just sort of ended up doing it and it was quite satisfying. So I just sort of carried on. So I've got various bits and pieces. I'm just trying to sort out into some sort of order in order to show you. So this first sheet here is obviously to cut up and to use as sort of stickers. It's not actually sticker paper. It's high quality, I think it's called photo quality Epson printer paper, but it is very nice quality actually, but it isn't sticker paper. And it's kind of random what I've got on there. I've got some proper illustrations. I've got my colour palette, which as you can see is ginormous. And I think probably what I'll do is I'll keep that colour palette saved for future years because I don't tend to vary too much. So that'll be my standard Christmas palette. It has tons of colours, as you can see. Yeah, there's some sort of random drawings on there that might not go any further than this page, but it was kind of just print everything out, sod it. This design I did with the idea that I would use it as a Christmas card design, but I quite like it on the page, and I also quite like the way the colour just sort of runs out at the bottom. I kind of find that quite interesting. I think at this point I was thinking, what on earth am I going to put on my cover for my journal? And I thought maybe an image like this might be quite good. But I still haven't decided, to be honest. I did this little goose patchwork design thing. I was sort of inspired by a few random Christmas goose tins and tea towels and things I'd found on Pinterest. But again, I didn't go much further with the goose, just sort of did one and then was like, yeah, that'll do. I feel like I've got my goose out of my system. And then I did a load of, as I said, fake patchwork, which was done by, designing a few squares. It's really quite simple, actually. You design a few squares and triangles digitally, and then you just copy and paste them and repeatedly copy and paste them until you get these patterns. So it's quite a quick way to make a pattern come together. They're not strictly repeat patterns, like they're not very neat. You couldn't use them to print fabric, for example, but they'll do on the A4 sheet. I did these number stickers, and actually I'm not overly thrilled with them. I'm going to use them anyway. I think it's because I've done this before and maybe I was sort of bored myself slightly. I mean, they'll do. But yeah, I haven't got anything else to say about those. This was a mistake. I printed it accidentally on tiny sticker paper. I'll probably just stick that in my journal as one thing. This was showing how I made my colour palette. So I took those 3 pictures from my scrapbook that I really like the colours of and just pulled the colours out. And then this was me trying to design a Christmas card. I wanted to do my own Christmas card designs this year, but I don't know what to do. I have to decide in the next 2 days, actually, because I need to start sending international ones. And I couldn't decide whether to print the cards myself, get someone else to print them. I can't really afford to get someone else to print them, to be honest. So I think I might do it myself. So I think that is going to be a job for the next few days, printing out lots of these pictures. And I'm going to have to sort of stick them, I think, because in order to get a good quality image, I have to print on this particular paper, not on card. So I don't have any good quality cards. So I'll have to work that out. But I will I'll probably pop it on Instagram once I've decided what I'm doing. So yeah, that's my little stash of ephemera. And I did just print out 2 challenges that I found on Instagram for December. So we've got the one on the right, which is the Winter Journal Challenge, and that is hosted by Inspiring Journals and Kia Creates. And then we've got Create December. I can't remember. It's Heather and Bree from Documented Journey. Sorry, Heather Matten. Just had a bit of a mind blank there. But yeah, you can find these on Instagram if you're within the journal community. If I remember, I'll put a link down below. But I might do some of those. I realised when I printed them out that it was incredibly tiny, so I'm not sure whether I'll be able to read it. But I printed them out just to remind myself that if I get stuck, if I want to join in on those challenges, then they are there. And then the next thing I did was to play around with my little image that I designed and make it into a couple of screensavers. No, not screensavers, what are they called? Desktop wallpapers. So the first one I did, I put on my MacBook. I added a few sort of patchwork strips up and down the side. So that is now on my MacBook, and I can look at that every day and sort of feel a bit Christmassy. And then the next one I made was a screen... Oh, what do you call it? Am I saying it wrong again? A wallpaper for my phone. Never done this before, actually, to be honest. I kind of looked up how to make, like, what the dimensions should be. And then there were so many different dimensions, I just gave up and I just sort of guessed. But it seems to work on my phone, which is a Samsung. And then I put this up on Patreon as a little sort of bonus freebie. So if you're a patron of mine, you can get this little wallpaper thing for your phone if you want to use it. I did get a friend to test it and she said it looked all right, so hopefully it's okay. And I also had a little go at decorating my desk. It's looking a little bit plain, a little bit sort of haphazard, but it's a working area, so I suppose that makes sense. I've shoved some Christmas lights up, stuck a few bits up of my drawings. I actually have my November calendar there still because this was in November. And then that picture there, map image, is the thing that I drew for my son's school because we did like a Where's Santa map at the Christmas fair. And I couldn't find a decent map online, so I thought, sod it, I'll just draw my own, which took me ages, but it was a really good exercise to do. I enjoyed doing that, which I couldn't have done without my iPad, so I'm super glad I got that. And then just a few random pieces of inspiration, I guess, stuck up there, which I probably will change out soon. I'm not sure. Yeah. Sorry about the wobbly camera. There's my December calendar. So that's the Patreon calendar, just hiding, ready to come out when it is December. These little envelopes were copies that I made of... I did like a prize for the Where's Santa, and I made these little fake letters to go in a little Santa sleigh. It was also full of chocolate coins as the prize, basically. These are not my designs. I just found loads of random little envelope designs on Pinterest, I think, and then made them really teeny and then put them on card. And I have some scented candles, which disappointingly turned out to not be scented once you light them, so that was a bit of a shame. They smell so nice in the box, and then you light them and they just smell like a normal candle. Yeah, so that's all my stuff sort of laid out on my desk. That is the point I get to by about 26th of November, I'd say this was filmed. So then the next problem that I needed to solve was, where am I going to put all my ephemera? And I spent hours on the internet. I'm just pausing because I'm trying to think, was it really hours? I think it probably was hours, at least 2 hours over several days, going round and round and round, trying to find the storage solution that I wanted for all my Christmas stuff. So obviously strict budget, but there also within that budget wasn't anything with the right configuration. Does that make sense? The right amount of like slots and the right storage space, basically. And I started to get really sort of grumpy about it because I felt like I was wasting time. I don't enjoy being on Amazon and trying desperately to find things that are probably on there, but you just get shown so much random stuff you can't actually see the thing you're after. Small rant there. So I just thought, you know what, this is ridiculous. I came off it, put my phone off and said I would just make it. Cobble it together out of cardboard, and I had a box that came from my work, so it's empty of printer paper, and I thought I'll just use that. It was sitting there, might as well just use it. So I've put together this little slideshow to show you how I sort of cobbled it together. So you can see I sort of sliced it at an angle, and then I put that piece of cardboard back inside the box, and that created like the first slot at the back of the box. And then to cover up the sides, which made it look too obviously like I'd used an old box, I just cut some plain white card and cut them into the triangle shapes, and I stuck those on either end. And I would absolutely have no idea what I'd do without this tape. It's just the most amazing tape. It's bookbinding tape. I got it in Japan. You get tons on the roll. I mean, I've had it for about 4 years now. And granted, I don't really use it all that often. But I'm so glad I brought it back with me from Japan, because I used this to cover up all the sort of raw edges on the box. And it's just white, but it's sort of backed with a sort of aluminium foil. So it's quite strong. And it's obviously sticky, and you just use it like a tape and stick it down, and it just covered up all my raw edges. So I raided my recycling box and found a load of packaging things that I was about to throw in recycling. So I rescued it all, chopped it all up, and made the configuration that I think will be most useful for me for all of my ephemera. And then I got to thinking, what am I going to cover it with? Because I didn't think I wanted it plain white, and I also didn't actually have enough white paint to cover the whole thing. So I thought, back to the drawing board, went back to my iPad, and I made a few more designs, so a few more sort of things that I can use as collage papers, but also I'm going to use them to decorate the box. And I'm really glad I did this, because I'd done this design a few months ago, and I wasn't quite satisfied with it, this sort of leafy pine needly design. And going back to it afresh, I saw what needed to be changed and sort of fiddle around with it. And now I have some really nice designs that I really like. So I used one of them to cover this little box tray insert. And then I chose which ones I wanted to use for actually decorating the organizer. So this is what it looks like, with it all sort of glued together and stuck together and finished. And I put some Christmas lights around it, because I thought, why not? It's nice to have a little bit of silliness at Christmas. And then I set to putting all of my bits in. So I'll just give you a very quick tour of the contents now, just so you can see what I ended up with going into December. This was filmed on the very early morning of the 1st of December, so just in the nick of time. Although, to be perfectly honest, I haven't actually done any journaling since, so I was ready, but I then didn't actually need to be ready. But it was really such a relief to sort of get it all sorted and get it all where I needed it to be. So obviously all the large bits can go at the back. There's space at the back to fit A4 sheets. So all of my like uncut pieces of printables are all in the back at the moment. So I've got quite a good selection of them now, which is really good. Yeah, that's all good to go. That's another sheet I don't think I showed you, which has got like tables and cushions on. I can also fit my pages in here, so I will take them out, work on them, and then put them back, and the cover. So any other larger pieces of ephemera have gone in there. In this little space here, I can fit postcard sized, so anything that's A6 size can pop in this little slot. So I've got all my bits and bobs in there. And then the actual little green patterned covered box has got smaller pieces in, and then the tiny little teeny tiny stickers are still in that little plastic case, and that's going to go at the front, just slots in there. I've got some date stickers. All my date stickers are now in this tin, so I can just grab them as I go, because they're a little bit, if I put them loose, they're just going to get lost, I think. This tin now has lots of ribbons and sort of fabric bits in, because I do want to sort of put more ribbon and lace and things in my journal. So that's there, and also it looks nice. I like to see the little house in there. A few tiny bits of ephemera I'd gathered already. some random bits. They could probably go in the tin, actually. I don't know whether they're washi tapes again, and yeah, just other little tiny bits and bobs. These little tiny slots will be probably used to pop photos in, along with the relevant date stickers as I go. So when I come to a catch-up session, I know where everything is. I know which photos go for which day. But for now, I'm just sort of shoving random pieces of ephemera in here. And then I've got my little Christmas lights, which if I turn them on, you'll be able to see what difference it makes. Sorry about the poor quality of the video, but yeah, it's quite fun to have those on, just as a little like, ta-da, I'm here and I'm working on my journal, put the lights on type thing. And I'll pop it to the side. So when I'm working on it, I'll pop it to the side of my desk so that I can grab the bits I need, and I still have all of this space in the middle to get on with the actual journaling. So that's it from me for this video. Anything else I share from now on will be either process videos or flip throughs of what it all actually looks like. But in terms of preparation, that's where I got to just before December. So I hope this was interesting. I hope it was helpful. If you want to grab any of the sheets available on Patreon, I think there's 3 on there now, 3 A4 sheets for downloading. You can head over to Patreon, the link will be below. And otherwise, I hope you've gathered all of your materials that you're going to use, and I hope you're all ready to start with your Christmas journal if you're doing one. Thank you for watching, and I will see you again soon. Bye.